Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. Today we're gonna be talking about the recently revealed Street Fighter trailer that was shown at the Game Awards. So we did talk about it a little bit in the video I already made for the Game Awards, just kind of in general. I want to go a little bit more in depth because hey, it's Street Fighter. We should talk about it. And I guess the big thing to say out of the gate is, because I've already seen some conflicting opinions on social media, is this movie is absolutely made tongue-in-cheek. This is not a deadly serious film. This is, they're having some fun with it. We tried serious once with the Legend of Chun-Li film, and let me tell you, it didn't work out. This is seemingly much more along the lines of the cult classic 90s Jean-Claude Van Damme film. The only weakness being always in, later age remakes of films is one movie wasn't trying to be funny. Like, it just sort of unintentionally wound up being funny. This movie is maybe trying to be a bit funny, and will it work out the same way? Time will tell. That said, they are paying respect to Street Fighter in a lot of ways that, the other films didn't really. Like, take the scene here where Zangief does a lovely spin-out jackhammer. There's a poster in the background here, welcome to the World Warrior Tournament. So there's an actual Street Fighter tournament. Like there's a reason for these people to convene and punch each other in the face. Also, it's the second World Warrior Tournament, implying that this is effectively Street Fighter 2. And it's in Metropo City? Close enough to Metro City, I guess. But yeah, Street Fighter 2 is the heart of Street Fighter, right? Like, no matter how far Street Fighter progresses as a franchise, its heart and soul is in Street Fighter 2. The characters are mostly the Street Fighter 2 cast. A lot of them have Street Fighter 2 designs, so okay, yeah, it makes sense. And actually, on the designs, I think for the most part, they got a home run on this. Like, the majority of these designs are straight out of the games, that they get it. They understand the mission. Maybe a couple swings and misses, but for the most part, this works. This is really good. Are some of these designs silly in the real world? Sure, but Street Fighter's sort of silly. But that is Ryu, that is Guile, that is Dalsum, that is Honda to a degree. Hiroki Goto is definitely wearing a fat suit to play Honda, but that's okay. Honda is too much of a real man for any actor to portray, so you need a little movie magic to help that out. Cammy is wearing the iconic Killer Bee outfit, which also might have some story ramifications, which we'll talk about in a moment. Zangief, they're evoking his Street Fighter 6 DLC outfit. Like, even Jason Momoa as Blanca. Yeah, that's Blanca. So all these are really, really good, but since they're so faithful to so many of the outfits, it makes the ones that kind of break brand really jarring. Because here we are, everyone kind of looks like, they're more classical Street Fighter interpretations. Then we take such a major character like Chun-Li. And this evokes Chun-Li. You can definitely tell it's supposed to be Chun-Li. But compared to the other outfits, it's just off. Looks more like a Halloween costume you'd buy in a shop, honestly. Some of the other ones like Dan, I think that's just trying to evoke silly Dan. I think for the M. Bison, definitely not accurate, but maybe trying to evoke the Raul Julia classical M. Bison. Balrog, I don't know, something about the shot with 50 Cent, but maybe it's the hair. The hair's right, but just something looks off, I don't know. I guess it's just really the Chun-Li one that's throwing me off here. You got so much else, really attention to detail. You really went out of your way to make sure it's like the games. And then Chun-Li is just off. When that's one of the faces of the franchise. That should be one of the characters you definitely go the extra mile for. Nothing against the actress or anything. I'm sure she's just doing her job, but when you get Ryu and Guile so accurate, then Chun-Li is the one that's off. What's going on there? And speaking of accuracy, are you going to sit there and have me believe that Guile can walk forward and keep down charge for his flash kick? Are you just spitting in my face right now? This is an insult to gamers everywhere.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Jokes, obviously. But I sort of hate myself for realizing that. I'm like, wait, he can't do that. He doesn't have charge. This is what happens when you've played too many fighting games in your life, kids. So besides that, the accuracy stuff, even though there's a couple quibbles, I'm actually a big fan that they're going the extra mile to make sure it's mostly like Street Fighter. And on that note, the casting, some of the casting seems really good. Some of it seems maybe a little hit or miss. I also learned a lot by checking social media. Apparently, a lot of people really do not like this guy, which I guess makes him a good fit for Dan. Also, the gentleman playing Vega wore a mask on stage for the Game Awards. Thank you very much for staying on brand. Can't wait for the scene in the movie where Vega blocks too much and then loses his claw forever. God, I'm not prepared for whatever nonsense lose more mechanic Vega's gonna have whenever he finally shows up in Street Fighter 6. But anyways, the other thing I want to talk about is what the potential story of this is gonna be, because as we all know, story and lore is the most important part of any fighting game. We know it's a World Warrior tournament, so they at least have some reason to gather. We even potentially have training arcs, like a proper martial arts film should, with gigantic Zangief actor just lugging people around. There's lots of shots of this one nightclub where I'm assuming a lot of the fighting of the movie is going to go down in. Given it is in a nightclub, people like Dan are wearing, more social clothes. I'm assuming perhaps a lot of this fighting is not intentional, not part of the World Warrior tournament. But it is clear, even just from the shots in the trailer here, that there's so many different action sequences that this is going to be one of the more bigger set pieces of the film. There'll definitely be more official fights. We definitely have a more proper World Warrior setting, if you will, in this trailer. Like, this looks like a proper tournament / World Warrior venue, not just some nightclub people are fighting in. We do have the car destruction. That's Ken, by the way. We also have Ken kicking in El Fuerte's head. And Fuerte presented a bit chunkier than he is in Street Fighter 4. Let's put it that way. And we have the character Eric Andre is portraying. I'm assuming he's like the announcer, broadcaster, commentator of the tournament. Listed here as Don Savage, who is definitely not a Street Fighter character, but I guess you can have an original character every now and then. Although there's deep cuts here too. Like, this is Joe. Joe's a really minor character in Street Fighter lore. He's one of the characters from Street Fighter 1 and never really appears ever again, right? So weird he's getting FaceTime in a movie. I can only assume he's a jobber. Like, Ken or Ryu are gonna beat the holy hell out of him, basically. And now going back to the Cammy. So Cammy, we mentioned this is Killer B Cammy. It's more than just an outfit. This is sort of like a timeline of her history. Killer B outfit means Cammy is still under M. Bison's control, so she's a baddie. In fact, in the trailer, we see a bunch of the dolls. So we have Julie, who also is a main character, apparently. Which, weird, you think if you'd focus on another doll, you go with DiCaprio, but that's fine. I like Julie. Julie is actually really fun to play in Alpha 3. In the later revisions where she's playable anyways. And like myself, Julie's on Team T-Hawk, so I've always been a fan. And in the background of this shot, you can see more dolls with Bison at his desk, and also on the far right, Vega in his more classical outfit, just kind of hanging out. Also, at some point in the movie, in this exact office, stuff is gonna go down because Chun-Li's having a big old fight. While Bison just sort of walks off and lets the henchman deal with it. Also, it's Vega fighting Chun-Li. So you better do this right. If you happen to recall Street Fighter 2, the animated film, Vega versus Chun-Li is like one of the coolest fights ever put to animation. Not saying you gotta be this good, but it's just a very specific matchup with some history to it, right? As far as Street Fighter on film goes. That said, though, from later in the trailer, we're in the same room. We have Chun-Li, we have Julie, so I'm assuming Chun-Li wins the fight. Also, interesting use of Chun-Li's leg power choking out poor Julie against the wall here. Didn't know she had it in her, I guess. And looks like the film will probably end with some big climactic battle on the Shadaloo base. So you have Ryu and Ken just being up Shadaloo mooks together. Which, yeah, big fight ending in Bison's downfall seems about right. And looks at some point before this, Ryu and Ken will settle their personal issues in a big kung fu fight. And also something Akuma shows up, because why not? And also at some point, E Honda is going to give Ryu permanent brain damage by smashing his head into the wall. Good for Honda. So interested to see where this will go. We don't exactly get a new Street Fighter movie all that often. Also, look how big the actor for Zangief is. God damn, that's a big boy. It definitely has the vibe. They know what this movie needs to be, in that it needs to be good, campy fun. It doesn't need to be high art. Just, some quality gags, some quality laughs, some quality action, and then we're good to go. I feel like people don't make movies like that anymore. Like, why did the original Mortal Kombat film become so successful in its day? Good action, good music, quotable lines. Same for the Street Fighter film. Quality action romp, and it's funny. And quotable. Quote me any line from Legend of Chun-Li. I dare you. Chun-Li probably says the word the. But anyways, seems to be heading in the right direction, so I'm looking forward to it. It's currently scheduled to be released in October 16th of 2026 next year, so that's a whiles away, and hopefully it can stick the landing. Mortal Kombat, the new movie, that one did, and that keeps getting delayed. Looks interesting. We'll see when we get there. All I can say is, it looks fun. Fun's what the movie needs to be more than anything else. It's not going to be Citizen Kane, right? So we'll take it for what it is. Anyways, that said, that is it for the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some fighting games.